Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar where we're going to be covering some really helpful tips and things for just all things summer events. Like we know that this is the time of year where VBS is happening, you're having all the potlucks, all the things. And so today's plan is to give you lots of resources when it comes to just dealing with ChMS. I will just make a quick shout out before we get into anything that what we'll be demoing and what we'll be showing you on your screen today is going to be within Breeze. But if you have our newest version of Tithely, all the same features are going to be available to you. Your interface might look a little different, but all the steps will be the same essentially. So just kind of wanted to highlight that first before jumping in. But while you guys are joining, feel free to go ahead and start maybe throwing in the chat like where you're tuning in from. We'd love to see you guys and interact with you in the chat. But yeah, we'll go ahead and probably jump in. I think there looks like there's a decent amount of people already in with us.
Let's do it.
Awesome. I don't even want to attempt to say where that is in Texas. Is that the city that you're in, Nicholas?
Oh my goodness. That one's throwing me for a loop too.
Yeah, that one I don't even want to. I'm just going to move on. I don't even want to try and attempt to say that.
It's a new place I've never heard of.
Awesome, Joyce. Nice to see you. Abigail, good to see you as well. Oh, Olympia, Washington. I used to live in Washington for many years, so I'd assume, Jennifer, that you're probably still getting rain. Maybe not. Maybe in June it's died down a little bit. Someone tuning in from Alaska. That's awesome.
Anchorage.
Well, cool. Well, since it looks like there's a decent amount of you in here, we'll go ahead and get started. But just to reiterate, if you're joining us now, today's topic is going to be about kind of the basics of ChMS and really how to organize your ChMS to suit you for the summer season, especially when it gets busy with VBS and potlucks and all the kind of events that happen during the summer season. We want to give you those tools to help you manage this time. So we'll go ahead and hop in. First things first is, of course, Tithely is just I guess it's a new slogan. Maybe it's always kind of been around, but it's like new that we're putting it out there. But the slogan, of course, is just to simply serve. So that means just giving you the basics of what you need to do, what you need to manage your church so that you can focus on things that are important and things that matter to you. And so that means no extra steps. We don't want to leave you with unanswered questions. And of course, just no hidden costs. It's really important to us to make sure that you have all the resources you need to be fully self-sufficient within your product. So hopefully you guys will glean some things today. But something I do want to shout out is next week we are hosting, we're hosting a webinar with George Camel. He's from Ramsey Solutions. He's going to be doing a really cool webinar about why people don't give and how to help them start giving consistently, which I think is just a really important it's a really important webinar, especially again during that summer season where usually we see slumps and dips in giving. And so we tried to time that so that you guys are getting information that's helpful to you and your organization. So if that's a webinar you'd like to register to, you can go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen. Additionally, it will be posted. I believe the link is going out in marketing emails, so make sure to check your emails from Tithely, and you can get it there, or you can reach out to our support team and let them know that you're interested, and they'd be happy to send you that link. With that said, with that kind of no hidden costs, just for those of you who are joining us for this webinar, we want to give you another opportunity to save some money. So this is for customers who don't already have all access. All access is going to be like our ChMS products, our apps, and our sites. Any product that is an additional charge on top of just Tithely giving, all of those kind of work together in an ecosystem that we call All Access. And typically it's $119 a month, but if you scan this QR code on your screen, that should get you 3 months of All Access at $99. So again, that $119 is already like a really great price. So make sure to take advantage of this discount, which I will show again if you don't get a chance to scan it now. I see a question in the chat that says, what's ChMS, which I'm already excited. That's what we're talking about today. So you'll get like the basics of our ChMS. It stands for church management software. So I guess I should have clarified that. But that's what we'll be talking about in today's webinar. So with that said, if you have any questions that are specific to what we're talking about today, so like how to do something. Can you show us this again? Whatever it may be, like specific to what we're talking about today. You should be able to access the Q&A channel, which is going to look like a chat bubble with a question mark in it for you guys. Feel free to drop your questions in there. We'll have a section time at the end for us to go over any of those questions. So make sure if you have any, put them there and we'll address them at the end. But feel free to, keep talking in the chat and maybe a good, like, this is so good or something. I don't know. Little encouragements for us would be appreciated. But with that said, I'll go ahead and give us an opportunity to introduce ourselves. So my name is Mariah. I'm a part of our education team here at Tithely. So like any of these webinars, which our webinars, all of our like help center articles, if you're familiar with Tithely University or Breeze University, that's kind of what my team oversees with education is we give you all the resources, again, to make you as self-sufficient as possible. I've been at Tithely for a little over 3 years now, and I actually started in our support team and kind of moved through onboarding at one point and now ended up in education. But yeah, just super stoked to be here with you guys today. And like I said, hope you take something from what we're discussing about ChMS. But with that, I'll give Nicholas an opportunity to introduce himself.
Thank you, Mariah. As she said, I am Nicholas. I am part of our support advocate team. So essentially, when you guys write in your email or the little chat bubble when you guys are on the software, I am one of the folks that is able to take that and help you kind of get your solution and sort out any bugs you run into. I'm even seeing some familiar names in the chat. It's good to see you here. I've probably helped you before. I have been at Tithely for over a year and a half. I'm coming up on my 2-year mark now. So I'm super excited to be here. I've been working in churches alongside Tithely for, over 5 years now as well. I used to be a worship coordinator at my most recent church. So church management softwares and church relations working together has just a little place in my heart because I've worked with it for a long time. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, awesome. Also, Nicholas is being like coy, but genuinely, there is a 100% chance he has helped you in support because this man answers a bajillion questions a day. So maybe give a shout out to support. Like they literally do make the world go round in Tidely, and all of your questions, like they answer always so well. So shout out to you guys in support. But with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and get into like the main content of things. So I'll pull my face so that you guys can see the screen a little bit better, but I'm still going to be here in the chat. So if you have any questions or just want to talk, I'll still be here. But I'll go ahead and pass it off to Nicholas.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to give a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. So you'll see some of the bullet points here. We're really mainly focusing on events. So we'll be jumping into your calendars, some event settings. We'll talk about attendees, how you can mark people with our check-in services, and then pulling reports for event attendance. And I'll also talk about volunteers as well, how we can either request volunteers and assign them. So let's jump in. So first we want to jump into calendars and event settings. So Mariah, I'm going to hop over to my demo. So if you just want to change their view, perfect. Okay, so again, as she mentioned, if you're just coming in now, we are working mostly in Breeze, but if you're on our newer software, Tithely 3.0, a lot of the usability is going to be the same and all the steps will be the same, but some things may be like a different color. So just keep that in mind. But our one-stop shop today is going to be the events tab. So when you come in here, most of you may be familiar with this, but I do just want to point out there are different ways and modes that we can view our calendar. So with our little button here, we can do a month view, which is my preference. You just get to see everything at a glance. You can definitely do week view. This is nice, especially if you have multiple events in one day. You'll notice this can house only about 5 events, but let's say on the 14th you have 7 or 8. That week view is pretty helpful because it'll list them based off of the hour, and they won't be bundled up there. We can do a day view, and of course we do have our list views by month or by week. They all just look kind of like this. this is pretty printer friendly. So if you're ever just needing to send out a month view in an email to folks or other admin staff, we can just Control or Command print. We have a pretty printer friendly version of our calendar here. But let's go back to our month view. We'll kind of truck on to our next point, which is adding calendars. So I've already added a few calendars in here. Of course, we have our main calendar, which is green, our youth calendar, which is blue. And then I created a webinar calendar. I'm going to delete this just for now because I'd love to add it again with you folks here. So just let that take a sec. And if she wants to load a little bit, that's okay too. Let's refresh. And essentially, we'll leave her there. But what we can do is, let's say we have a children's ministry and we want a calendar dedicated to them. I'm going to do that right here. We can add a calendar. On the left-hand side, we'll click that plus button. And we will do children's ministry. Let's make that purple. Of course, we can use a custom color as well. And for those of you who also have the custom church app feature on your subscription, you can check this box and this calendar will appear on the app as well. But we won't check that for now. We'll just go ahead and add it. There we go. Breeze finally caught up. That webinar one's gone. But now we have children's ministry. We can edit this view to see just what we would prefer. But it's nice to have a couple separated calendars here because when you're adding events, what I'm going to do is just click Tuesday of June 2nd. We can choose which calendar this event is being put into. So that way we just group things. It's color coded, so it's nice and pretty for us, so we know exactly where to look for. So let's just do one event in our children's ministry calendar. I will get into more of these details, but just for now, here we go. Okay, now we see our children's test event. Of course, it is color-coded to that purple that we assigned. Now let's say we were a user that came in and they just had access to children's ministry. They would just see this, and it's perfectly set up for them. Okay, so now we've covered adding a calendar, color-coding your month view, just so it's nice for you. Now we're going to jump into importing calendars from outside of Breeze into Breeze. So we have a pretty cool feature. It's called calendar integration. A lot of you may use Google Calendar, maybe iCloud Calendar, that's with Apple, even Outlook. What you can do is you can take your calendars from those external sources and integrate them into Breeze. So we have a pretty cool way of doing this. I won't go the whole 9 yards, but it's just good to know that this is possible. So let's say I'm using a Google Calendar. I can choose the calendar name. So I might just say Google Cal. I'll assign its color and then the iCal address. Essentially, this is the link to your external calendar. If you don't know where that is, we have a pretty friendly knowledge-based article that's going to pop open here, and it'll show you how to do this. So we won't fully run into that, but just as a quick navigation point, navigate to your Google Calendar, go to your settings, then from your dropdown, you're going to select your calendar and so forth. So we make it pretty easy. Once you've copied that link there and then save, it's going to import your events from your external calendar to your Breeze calendar. And the same goes for the opposite. We can send this Breeze calendar to external calendar. So I can send my Breeze calendar to my Google. So that way it might be on my phone, or I could send it to Apple, so it's in my calendar there. Okay, so let's jump back into our presentation because now we want to move on to event settings. So here we're going to talk about adding and deleting events, those general details of notifications and the event settings there. We'll talk about recurring events and attendees. So going into that, let's jump back into our demo here. So adding and deleting events. So to add, really simple, we have one of two ways. we can either click Add Event. This because you can just click it from anywhere. You can schedule out a couple months. My preferred method is just clicking to the day of. So let's pretend we're scheduling an event for tomorrow. I just click that box and you'll see it has selected the correct date. So let's do this webinar event. So when we're adding events, of course, we have the date selected. We can choose all day or select it for a time range. Once we uncheck this all day, that is when we'll have our selected dropdown. But let's go ahead and click all day for now. Then we want to go ahead and click what we're familiar with is choose our calendar. Since we're calling this a webinar event, let's just call that main. And from there, we'll then go ahead and navigate to the second tab up here, details. This isn't always needed, but if you're setting up an event that is going to have volunteers, it's pretty nice to include a description. So you can add a location. Say you have a couple different rooms in your church site, or maybe you're going to a venue. You can name this Sanctuary Main, or just Room 101, anything like that. You can add that there. And any description outlining what might be helpful for volunteers to know, say something like, hey, welcome to our webinar event. We're going to be focusing on so-and-so. Keep in mind, yada, yada, yada. Anything that might be helpful there. Then we can go ahead and add those details. Check-in. Check-in's pretty important. For those of you who are prepping for VBS, essentially, we are going to be using check-in quite a bit. So check-in has to do with tags. Tags are used to group people in your system. So you may have a bunch of profiles in your people tab right here, but we can group them together by certain filters, and if they're able to match things, we can put them in one tag. And then we're able to create an event and allow check-in eligibility for either everyone, that means anybody listed in your Breeze account or Tithely account. We could do specific tags, and then from here, we're able to select the tags that we will allow to be eligible to check in here. So I can just assign this to my online directory. That way, only people who are in my online directory tag are able to check in. Once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and add the event. And now we see it, webinar event on June 19th. When it comes to deleting, this is super easy. We can click any event, and then this window will pop up, and we're going to want to navigate to the Edit Event Settings. And essentially, we're just going to scroll all the way down, and it's in that bottom right corner for you. And we'll just click Delete, and it will give you a little confirmation, and we'll just go ahead and delete. You'll no longer see it there. Perfect. Okay. Our next point is just recurring events. So this is helpful to look into because recurring events can get pretty meticulous. So of course, we'll go in at our details. If the event repeats, let's say we want it to happen every Tuesday, we'll check that event repeats box. We'll select weekly. We can have it end on a date or after a certain number of events. Right now, let's just do after 4 events. Let's say we're doing a 4-series event. We'll assign it to the calendar. And of course, we can add details and check in, but we can also do that later. So just for the sake of our example, we'll just go ahead and add this. And you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's no 5th one. So we've created a recurring event. The system has followed our prompt, and it has added 4 of them, but it is no longer repeating after that 4th event. So that is super helpful there just to take a peek into. Let's jump back into this test event. Now, we want to edit event settings. that's going to take us here. And I just want to point these out. So when you have volunteers, you can set them up with this tab. We're going to jump into that pretty quick. You can send alerts to those who are in the tag. This is how you get to your check-in page. Most of my profiles don't have names in there, so don't worry about that. And of course, we can pull a report. So this is how you'll navigate info within an event. So let's jump back into our event. And now we'll jump back to our slideshow. I'm going to put all this together, but our next point here is we're going to go over forms. So that is our next slide. So streamlining event planning with forms. So first, how can forms be helpful when planning events? Essentially, forms are things that you guys create, and when a form is filled out, we can group those form entries into tags. So when we have a tag created from a form entry, we can assign that tag for people to be eligible for check-in within one event. For example, we are setting up a VBS. We're going to create a VBS form. The children's parents will fill out the form, and then we can group all of that information into one tag. So that way, when we set up our event, we can choose the check-in eligibility to the folks in that tag. So that way, we're just checking in the kids that signed up for VBS. This does include using an automation, but we're going to jump into that, how to create the form, as well as share that form once it's all ready. So let's cover all of that in our demo. So we'll jump back into the demo. So I know we're mostly going to be in forms. This is going to be the part where we go off a little bit and create a form. So creating a form, all it takes is this blue button right here. We're going to go ahead and do that. I mostly am using the general or registration. Registration is included if you guys are going to take any fees. So if there's like a $10 sign up form, if you're signing up for a potluck or an event that has a registration fee, or the general form. So let's just start with the general form. Essentially, let's just call this VBS sign up. We can add a header image. There's some pre-selected ones here, but you can also upload. And what's cool about this is we have a drag and drop feature here. So a general form is going to start you off with a name, email, phone, and address. After that, it's up to you to add any more details. So we can do a text. We can drag and drop it here. We can do a multiple choice. So we can say grade. Let's say this is just for high schoolers. So 9th, 10th, 11. We can add one more, and 12th grade. You can choose whether these fields are required or not. We like to keep that. They're going to be required for a good chunk of them. You can add an essay form. Let's say, is there anything we need to know? That way a parent can outline some allergies, anything like that. Here's what I will present to you guys as kind of a form setup. It just makes things a bit more aesthetic. So we can break up a form with section titles. So I like to do this just so it's pretty for the viewer. So we'll just do info intake. And you can even add a description under here. Something like, please include all details pertaining to your child. And then our next info can be our next section title, important info. And here's where you can list allergies, anything like that. You could do a checkbox of any other piece of information you would like to know. And then we'll just go ahead and create that form. So now we have our VBS sign up form. Now, how do we automate the tag that gets created from the folks that use this form. Essentially, we want to have a tag created first. So under our tags tab, let's go to add tag, and we will just write VBS sign up. We will add that tag. We now see it here. Now that we have this tag already created, we can navigate to our settings button and go to automations. And we want to add a task. So this one's all the way at the bottom. So we have right here, auto tag form respondents. So essentially, people that have completed a given form will automatically be assigned to a specific tag. So let's go ahead and click that. So now we want to select the people who have completed this form. We want that to be our VBS form. So folks who fill out this form will be assigned to this tag. Now, what tag do we want? VBS sign up. Now, of course, you can add additional features here, only assign people who fill out this form, but they click a specific filter. You can select, but we won't check that for now. And then you can also have this run in the opposite way. So when this task runs, also remove people from this tag that don't match this. So we're going to go ahead and add that. Now, when we have people who fill out this form, they will automatically be put into the VBS signup tag. That is helpful in our event. When we go to our event settings, for check-in eligible people, we'll use specific tags. We'll do our tag dropdown, and we will do VBS signup. And we'll just go ahead and save changes. Now, everybody who checks into this, they will be listed from the VBS signup tag. So that is just a pretty cool automation you can set up, especially for big growing events like a potluck, VBS, small group, anything like that. So when it comes to sharing that form, we'll jump back into the Forms tab. And right here, you'll see this link, Share Form. We'll click that. And we can do a couple different things. We're mostly going to be sharing this top form, the form address. The link can also be used if you are putting this form onto a website or anything like that. You can use the embed code, and that'll embed it nicely in there. So that is generally our form setup and how it can be used with events. Let's jump back into that presentation real quick. And we can move on to managing participant check-in. With this, we're going to be going to the check-in page. I'll show you some of the check-in modes and just how to efficiently take attendance. We won't delve into this because this is another webinar in itself that could be made, but we'll do a brief overview of printer usage because you can print out check-in name tags as well. So let's jump back into our demo. And I want to show you guys, we touched on it briefly before, but how do we get into the check-in page? So let's say, let me just do this real quick. We will create a VBS event. I'll make it children's ministry, and the check-in, I will just do VBS sign up. Okay, so we have our VBS event. You have a volunteer that is running check-in. What do you tell them what to do? You're going to tell them, okay, you log into Breeze, you locate your event, which is VBS, and from this pop-up, we immediately go to check-in. Let's go ahead and click that together. This takes you to a whole new interface, and this is our check-in page. So when people are listed in that tag, they will be listed here. So just for testing purposes, we'll jump over to this other event. A different tag was selected, but this is what it would look like. And of course, these are blank profiles. But let's say this is John Doe 1. They come in, they can scroll, they can find their name, they can check themselves in. So the volunteer can do this. You can also change up the mode. Let's say you want to check in kiosk and you don't have a volunteer to check people in. Let's go ahead and click the settings in the top right. We'll click mode, And we can do a kiosk mode. We're not going to do that password. That way, parents can type in the number associated with their child's account. It's usually the parent's number, and they can search for the profile there. Another mode, I prefer this mode, search mode. You can type in a name, a phone number, or scan a barcode. So essentially, anybody with a name that matches the tag connected with this, they're going to pop up. They're going to pop up just like this list mode, and then you can check the box to check them in. So now that we've kind of ran through a check-in, let me talk about printer setup a little bit. So Breeze allows two types of printers, a Dymo printer and a Brother printer. Those are pretty much the top printers when it comes to check-in capabilities. Essentially, to connect a printer, we would just navigate to settings and we would set up our printer separately because it'll use a different software on your computer. And then you can set up a Dymo print station or test your printer connection. And then right up here, you can do print. So once your printer is connected, whether it is the Dymo or the Brother, you will do the same thing. You'll click your event, you'll select check-in. And when you check off certain people, once they appear, the printer will then print off a name tag with their info. So I know printers can be a little tricky. So if anything comes up or you have in-depth questions about that, that's going to be more for our support team. So you can always reach out to us. For Tithely, it's Tithely or support at tithe.ly. And then for Breeze, if you folks are Breeze users, it's going to be support at breezechms.com. You just shoot us a quick email there. We have a team of specialists who can get on that as well. Okay, now back to our presentation. I want to move on to our next slide, which is going to be about reporting. So after we have created an event, we've had attendees, we want data on that. We want to know who attended, who missed. So right now we're going to go through pulling that report, using report filters, seeing who has attended or missed, and then how we can export that to share that info. So jumping back into our demo, this is still, believe it or not, going to be under our events tab. And when it comes to reports, I like to tell people this is going to be located in the event that you're wanting a report for. So let's say we are going to our youth group. You can click View Details or Edit Event Settings. But when you click View Details, it'll take you to an overview. And we can click Attendees to see who's eligible to attend. But for reports, we're going to want to click Reports on this left-hand panel. Now, essentially, what pulls up right here is just a big filtration system. So here is a date range. This is going from May 6th to June 3rd. And then you'll see the dates of this youth group event, the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and so on. This tab right here is actually the event. So I can select an additional event. Select more and things like that. So now we're testing, we're doing event for multiple events. Now you'll see the things will change. So we have May 17th, test choir, May 20th, youth group. You're mostly going to be using this for one event, but since these are test events, you're not going to see the result here. But let's say this first line is an attender. If they were checked in for the May 6th event, you would see a green check mark here, and then the total would change to 1 right here. So of course, if they went to the 6th, the 20th, and the 27th, but they missed the 13th and the 3rd, they would have a total of 3 events attended, and then you would see an X under the ones that they didn't. You can whittle that list down too. So all eligible just means attended and missed. So you'll see check marks and X's here. But if you're just wanting to see who missed, the list will look the same, but those green check marks will no longer be there. It'll just be X's. So that way you can reach out to the folks who maybe need a follow-up if you're expecting them to attend. Once you have your report filtered as you'd like, the youth group event, you wanted to see who missed this event. Once you have this list, we can export this as an Excel sheet. Once it does that, and of course it just gets downloaded to our computer, but we can also print the attendance sheet. So this is just a printer-friendly version of this. So that is nice to look at as well. If you're also not wanting a huge list like this, but you're just wanting a list of the people and their names, we can click People Report. And these are just people did not attend in this date range. So that's just super helpful. All right. Now we're going to move on from reporting to volunteers. So let's jump back to our slide. Okay, so empowering your volunteer team. So we're going to talk about how to utilize volunteers for your event, volunteer roles and what that means, and then inviting versus assigning volunteers. This is really important. Not every event needs volunteers, so we wanted to kind of jump in with today's webinar to kind of give you a glance into this. So let's jump back into our demo. We're going to go into events, and let's just do test choir as our event. We'll click into here. Essentially, we're going to create an event, and we can, for this, go to event settings or volunteers. Let's go here first. And we can do volunteers on the left-hand side. So we will see that I have added roles here. So I've added a soprano, alto, tenor, bass. This is what a created volunteer list will look like. And then, of course, I can add a sign-up sheet for people to volunteer. So now that we see what this can look like, and volunteers can be listed under certain roles, let's see what it looks like to create that from scratch. So we created this blank event. Nothing's been added here. We'll go to volunteers. And since we're doing our test event, let's just do, we need somebody to bring water. A role leader is not always needed, but let's say we need 3 people to cover water. We need a check-in manager. We need 1 person there. And let's say we need child care. Let's say we need 5 volunteers for that. And of course, if you're running an extensive volunteer list, you can, of course, add a new role as well. But let's just go ahead and continue. Now it's going to ask us, do you prefer to assign volunteers or invite? If you already have people profiles in your system and you know who's going to be doing such volunteer role, I would go ahead and navigate to assign. Invite, we won't look into too much, but essentially when you click invite, it's going to ask you to create a small little form and send that link to a bunch of people, and they can sign up for the roles that you just outlined. So it's a little more extensive. It takes some waiting time for people to respond, and then it also takes some manual admin work to see who is volunteering and then sending out more invites if roles were not filled. But in invite, we'll go ahead and select it. Now we see our event is set up like our previous one that we looked into, but now we can add a volunteer. So you'll see we have 0 out of 5 volunteers, 0 out of 1, and so forth. So we want to add volunteers. So we can do one of 2 things, search for the person, or we can choose from recent volunteers who were selected, or our tags. So let's just select online directory. these are the folks that were in my online directory tab. So let's choose Jim Halpert, Pam Halpert, and myself, Nick. And they will then just be added here under the water volunteer slot. And once we are done with that, let's say we've done that for every role, we can send schedules to volunteers. This is just essentially letting them know we're sending this to all the volunteers scheduled for the June 2nd event, or we could select all 4 because it was a recurring event. And we can send them a quick message. Hey there, thanks so much for volunteering. And then you can add more info that they may need. Some additional options you'll see here. You can allow volunteers to RSVP to their assigned dates. That's for more inviting volunteers. But you can also attach a PDF showing the master schedule and who's serving on what date. And then you can also send this as a text message. That covers adding volunteers. This can be really simple, but it can also get really extensive if you guys are running a larger event. So we won't go back to our next slide, but essentially the next slide just says putting it all together. So I want to put it all together. I know we've talked through everything, but let me just do this from the ground up one more time so you can see it. So I'm going to create another VBS event, but I'm going in, I'm a new church admin. How do I do this? So I go to the events tab. Let's say I want to start VBS on the 1st of the month. I'll call this VBS number 2. I'm going to create my event first because I know that I want a tag of VBS kids to be able to check into the event. So let me see. Now I'm going to go back to my event. I'll go to event settings. And under eligible people, instead of everyone, I'm going to do specific tags. And I want only VBS kids to be able to check into this event. So I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. Now I want to be able to send a form to parents of VBS kids so that way they can fill out on behalf of their kid. And that way they'll end up in that tag. So I'm going to go to forms. I'll create a new form. I'll do general. VBS summer sign up. I will add any additional field that I would like here. Let's say allergies, siblings listed, anything like that, any more dates. I'm going to create this form. And then because I know I need an automation in play, so that way people who fill out this form end up in that tag I created, let's set up that automation. So I go to settings, I go to automations, I will add a task. And just because we know in this webinar it's all the way at the bottom, we'll select auto tag form respondents. On the left-hand side, we want to select the tag, or I apologize, the form, VBS Summer Signup. So that means people who fill out the VBS Summer Signup form will be put into our selected tag here, VBS Kids. We're going to add task. Okay, so just clicking back and forth to refresh that. Now, once I've created this, let me share this form. I can click share form. I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to send that link out to young families, parents, anybody with children who can attend the VBS. They will then fill out that form. Any form that's been filled out, those profiles will be added to that tag. And let's say, we time machine back into the past to the 31st, and the next day is June 1st. I am ready to now check these people in. I'm going to click our event. I will click check in. And just because I prefer a different mode, I'm going to click the settings icon, click mode, and I will do search mode. That way, if I'm running the kiosk, kids can come to me. I say, hey there, what's your name? What's your last name? I can type it in. and then they will pop up as an option, and I will check them in. And that is kind of the start to finish, creating an event, creating a form, and connecting them in order that you can have a successfully running event for VBS and other cool summer activities. That is all I have just for our demo portion. But now I'm going to hand it back off to Mariah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was really good information. We do have some questions, so we'll go ahead and jump into those with the little bit of time that we have left. I think the first one, it just cracked me up when I saw it, and I think it's a great way to intro the questions. Is Nicholas, can you pronounce your last name for us?
Yes, it's probably the number one question I've got my whole life. It's Watanowicz. It's a pretty scary Polish name, but it sounds easier than it looks.
I just loved that. I loved that she was like, I need to know this before I can move on. We just need to clear the air. That's funny. But okay, actual questions. Let me pull those up and see what we have here. So I do see one person asking if they have people in messaging through Tithely, do we need to move those people over into Breeze for all of this? So I think by all of this, they mean like just people that you're managing within forms and tags.
Yes. So essentially, if it sounds like who's asking this question has a Tithely account and a Breeze account, and they're probably connected. But yes, so Tithely people do not get sent over to your Breeze people. If you're running events in your Breeze event area, you are going to want to export your Tithely people into your Breeze people. This is possible. I think Mariah can send like a knowledge-based article in there, and we can always follow up after this. But yes, essentially, if you're wanting volunteers or wanting to invite volunteers, those people are going to need to be profiles in your Breeze people tab.
Yes, and I just added that link to the screen. So where it says import people into Breeze, if you click that, that should direct you to a help article that kind of gives you the basics. It's not a super complicated process. Like to import people into Breeze, you can do it bulk, so you can get everyone moved over at the same time.
Yeah.
So hope that answers your question. I also see someone asking about how to integrate their Breeze calendar with their Tithely website. I don't know if you have a Tithely account pulled up. I can send an article if you don't have the ability to share now, but
yeah, let me send the article. But if you want to jump me back over to the demo, just so you can see that, I will initially give you the initial steps. But when it comes to adding it on the site, you may have to follow the rest of the steps in the article. But I do know, so we have our Breeze account set up here. We essentially want to go to the settings, then we'll click embed actually, and we want to copy this super long link. And then when we are on our sites page, essentially we can open up a tile or an info portion, and we can paste that huge link into that tile. Then the system knows how to auto-generate it into a, it looks like a visible calendar like this just on your site. We have a much prettier way of outlining that in the knowledge-based article, but that's essentially where you're going to grab that big link from Breeze.
Yep, perfect. Yes, and I will find the article to send you as well. I'll make sure to find that, but my computer is just being slow right now. But it is very simple. It's just what Nicholas showed, but essentially you're just adding in a quick little like HTML code block onto your website. But I will send the article when I get a chance, once my help center loads. Let's see. I think this is a good question because I think it's probably something that people deal with often. But this person is asking, how do you handle the issue where volunteers do not check their emails, aka volunteer requests are never checked, but by a good number of people?
Yeah, so at that point, it kind of comes down to poking, which I know can be annoying. I will just have to say it bluntly. We are in the business of poking. We're working with volunteers. We're not always the first on their priority list. So Breeze does have a nice way to send reminders. So when you go to your volunteer list and you see that nobody has signed up, you can just click send another reminder. It'll send the same thing once more, but you can also check another box to send a text message. I know a lot of folks respond faster via text rather than email. And of course, announcements in church are great. Um, if you have a more personal connection with some of the volunteers, reaching out via your personal email rather than an email from Breeze can sometimes help. Depending on their email settings, some things can go to spam or junk. So just reaching out in an alternate way can kind of poke them in the right direction.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And just to highlight again what you said about the text reminders, I think that's important to note because she's saying it sounds like the email is kind of the issue. Do you mind if I pop you back over to the demo so you can show her where you see that send as a text
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
as well,
Okay.
so that
So
we can see that?
let's see. I believe we set up, was it here? Okay, we didn't do it there.
It should be within the volunteer reminders.
Yes. So we can send schedule to volunteers. And essentially right here, it is also send this schedule as a text. So this can be sent as many times as you would like. After the first one, let's say you've already sent this, you can, kind of cut out this and say, just a reminder, I've not seen that anybody's followed up with this yet, and then add your additional info, and then send the schedule as a text message, and then you can send from there. That way it's going to end up in their email inbox, but as well as their messaging inbox.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, awesome. Let's see. I see another question here saying in the event settings, so when you're first setting up the event, under check-in section for appearance, this person is asking, do these appearances need to be installed on the print stations or are they preloaded? I guess there's a second portion to that. Since the printers are black and white, is this just related to the shading of the printed tag? So where it says appearances under check-in, can you clarify what that means?
Yeah, let me go back in here. So so when we set up a calendar, it does ask for, appearance. And that's actually just asking for like the color code that you'd like to assign to it. When we go to check-in, I'm not seeing an appearance
Does
here.
it say maybe under, like, when you're in the event and you click on settings? Because I think that might be, maybe it says appearance changes.
Yes, I think they absolutely. So this is the setting for, let's see, this background. So just this color here. So currently it's set to blue ice. I think I can set it to Savannah, save changes. Savannah is going to be like this tan.
Mm. So
Let
it's
me,
just adjusting the color of the screen. It has nothing to do with the tags actually at all.
correct, yes.
Okay, perfect. Cool. I love sometimes when I'm like also learning things at the same time we're hosting these webinars. Guys, there's always things to learn and know more about. Um, let's see. Let me kind of sort through these in a way that makes the most sense to answer them. This person is asking, when creating a form for VBS or children's ministry, is there still only one name that can be associated with that form? And she says, i.e., registering multiple children from the same family without having to fill out 4 different forms.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to give a rundown of this, but this is complicated. So when this webinar gets sent out, just kind of keep tabs on it for reference. Let's jump back into the demo.
Okay.
So here's a cool thing. You can embed forms in a parent form. So what I'm going to do is create a form. I'm going to call this, I'm just going to call it child form webinar, just so I know. So essentially, this is the one specifically for child information. So add any fields that you'd like for that. Create form. And then we want to create a parent form so we can send to the parents. And we will call this one VBS registration. So of course, we will add the fields that we would like in our section title. Let me add 2 here. So I like to add child info, and then I will always add a section below. Oopsies, typo. And in here, I will write, please fill out, the following forms for each child you're signing up for VBS. And then in these section titles, we're essentially going to embed another form. Okay, she's acting funky. Okay, let me jump in here real quick. So I'm going to be working in these 2 tabs. I'm going to keep this open, but I want a specific link. So we have that child webinar, child form. When I click share form, I'm going to click this, copy this embed code, and this is like magic. Let's just call this child number 1. And in here, I'm going to paste that embed code. As soon as I click away, it now populates that second form. So let's just create this form and let's view it as an example. So now I am the parent. I've received this VBS registration form. I'm going to view form. So I'm filling out my information, parent information, and then we have this next header, child info. Please fill out the following forms for each child. Child 1. And of course, I would add up to 5 in most cases. And I would just add another header and select child 2 and so forth. Keep in mind, though, they will need to submit or hit submit for every form that's filled out. So if they have 2 children, they're putting their information, info for child 1 and 2, then they're going to hit submit for child 1 and 2, and then they'll hit the final submit. This way you have one form that's being sent, but for the admin's end, we're receiving entries for 2 different forms.
Perfect. Thank you for addressing that. Yeah. I'll just stay here on the demo account because you may need to show us something. This person is asking for volunteers under invite mode. Is there a way to invite for a recurring event that allows the volunteer to choose their dates to serve, to help build a schedule and see the holes left in the roles that are needed?
Yes, absolutely. So let me jump back. So under volunteers, switch to invite mode. And essentially, we can manage sign-up sheets. When we create a new sign-up sheet, we are saying allow people to sign up for any of the following roles. So roles that haven't been filled for these dates. So because this is a recurring date every Tuesday for about a month, I can send them this sheet, and they will be able to sign up for water, check-in, or childcare for any of these dates if the roles are not fully filled yet. And then, of course, these are just some additional checkboxes there. And then once you create, you can then, it's going to pop up here, and then we can invite volunteers, and we can send this to people that we would like to sign up on that sheet.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. I think with that, because we're coming right up to time, we'll go ahead and call it here. But I do see that there were still some lingering questions, but I don't want you guys to feel like those go unanswered. So the best way to get those questions addressed is to go ahead and click the chat bubble within your Tithely or Breeze account, and that'll direct you to our support team. Of course, we love when there's like questions up until the end, but don't want you guys to feel like we're cutting it off. You still have access to our team, so please reach out if you have those additional questions. I think the last thing I was going to show is just this screen again. If you didn't get an opportunity today and maybe you're joining and only have Tithely or only have Breeze but are interested in having that interconnected kind of system of products, you can scan the QR code on your screen here to access 3 months of all access at $99. But with that, we have come to time. And so we appreciate all of you joining us. I know several people asked about if this is going to be recorded. If you registered, that link will be sent to you later today from our team. But as always, we thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for being here and giving us all that awesome information.
Of course.
But with that, we will call it here, guys. But we hope you have a great rest of your day, and God bless.